I'm THERESA ROWE. Welcome to Surprising Heroes, where we honor seemingly ordinary people who do surprisingly extraordinary things. We find stories of someone that has been helped by another person unselfishly, and we team up with them to surprise our hero. We want to recognize them and thank them for what they have done. We hope these stories will touch your heart and inspire you to do greater things for others.
Hello, everybody. This is Michael
and
Tyler, and we are currently at the hospital in Cincinnati, Good Samaritan Hospital.
This is a story of Owen and his hero and aunt, Carrie. When Owen was still in his mother's womb, he had complications, but not until after his birth did they discover he would need a kidney transplant. His Aunt Carrie almost instantly knew it was God's plan for her to be the donor. After being tested, she found out she was a perfect match and unselfishly stepped up to donate her kidney to Owen. Now we talk with Owen's mother, Tyler, and grandmother, TASHA, to get the full details of this miraculous story.
Tyler, when you were going through your pregnancy in 2012, did you have any symptoms that led you to believe you might be having complications or problems with your pregnancy?
I had a completely normal pregnancy as far as the aspect for me would be. Everything was going as normal. All ultrasounds had been normal up until the point we found out about Owen's complications. So it was at our 20-week ultrasound, and that's typically when you go in for the anatomy scan where they, from head to toe, they look over the baby. And during that ultrasound, the ultrasound tech was just very quiet. And you could kind of already gather a sense that there's something that wasn't right. And so she had left to go get the doctor. And at that point, we both knew, the doctor had never been pulled in to an ultrasound before with us. And so she came in and just let us know that they'd found an abnormality and that she would be referring us to a specialist at that time. She couldn't say exactly what the problem was.
You know, when we first found out, first of all, her being pregnant, we were just so elated that we were going to have a grandchild. And then we find out that Owen has some trouble, and it's his bladder. And it's just not minor trouble, it's a lot of trouble. And just to watch my daughter, she kind of held it in quite a bit. But then after a while, we knew it wasn't going to result in good things, because it was a bad thing to have with his bladder. But Tyler, we just covered each other in scripture. And I wasn't living near, I was in Owensboro and she was in Lexington. But I would call her and say, just meditate on this and meditate on this one. Let me give you this word, let me give you this word. And she would call and be crying, and it was just very hurtful. It's my daughter. And that's what I thought, it's my daughter. And I'm watching her go through this. It was very sad.
Hello again, guys. It's Michael and Tyler, and this is our, second update since we've been in the hospital, and I believe this is coming up on the end of our third week here in the hospital. Since we've talked to you guys last, I guess there are a few updates, one of which is Owen's progress. The best news of all, he's growing, which they've told us they didn't know how much he would grow, and he's actually, what percent? 65th?
65th percentile.
65th percentile, so
a little bigger than average.
Which is good, and obviously, and he's almost 4 pounds now, so he's gained, I think, 14 ounces in the past 2 weeks or so that's good. Anything else about Owen?
Owen is looking really good on the heart monitor. The nurses have given him the award for best baby on the floor. He is very reactive, which they like to make sure that if he does get on his umbilical cord that he can get off of it, which he's shown really good progress with that. And they all want to be his nurse because he requires not much care, but he's one of the best babies here.
When you went to see the doctor and the specialist, what did they say to you?
He told us that it looked like Owen had a blockage in his bladder, and it was not allowing him to empty. And so as his kidneys were making lots of urine, everything was just getting backed up. But he felt like Owen's condition was pretty severe, and it was actually out of his realm of ability to help us. You know, we were just holding on to any type of hope that we could have, that something would be okay. So it was a day full of testing, MRIs, CAT scans, lots of waiting, and then they eventually called us in later that afternoon into a conference room, and there were about 7 or 8 doctors, and Owen's pictures were everywhere of his body, everything. And they sat down with us and they gave us basically what our options would be for the rest of our pregnancy. They told us, you know, Owen's prognosis is not good. He was very rare. They had treated about 5 patients with Owen's condition. Option 1 that they gave us would be to do nothing. We could let the pregnancy continue and let nature kind of take its course, is what they said, that Owen would most likely pass before he was born. The second option was surgery, and we could perform surgery actually while I was pregnant with Owen, and it was slightly experimental. It wasn't a guarantee for anything. They made that very clear. They'd only done surgery on 3 other patients. And then the third option was we could terminate the pregnancy.
I can't imagine what you were feeling during that time and your emotions, and to be in the midst of all of that. So obviously your decision
Yes.
was to do surgery.
We did. So at 21 weeks, we went into Owen's first surgery. By this point, though, they did let us know that his kidneys were irreparable, that they were completely damaged, that the surgery was not done to save his kidneys. Ironically, it was done for lung function. The urine that babies make in the womb is swallowed, and it creates lungs that can expand and contract. And Owen had none. He had no fluid. So what they had told us at that point was, his exact words were, "You will be lucky to worry about dialysis for Owen's kidneys because he may not be able to breathe." And so that's really what we were looking at, was trying to just get his lungs working.
When Owen was born, I'm sure you were right there with her, with a lot of other people. Tell us about that day.
We were. She called it. It was like 3 a.m. She had gone into labor. So didn't have a choice. She was in the hospital. She was at Children's in Cincinnati. And she called and said, "I'm in labor. And it can't stop." And I remember Lynn and I, we jumped in the car, and Will, and we're driving from Owensboro to Cincinnati at 3:30 in the morning, just trying to get there quickly. And she had him. She'd already had him, and they had taken him to the ICU unit, but he was on the ventilator, and we got to see him just for a little bit. My dad was there, me and Lynn, Michael, and he just looked he was just a precious little baby.
They started checking labs, and they immediately showed things were not good. So he was intubated, and he stayed at the hospital where he was born with me for a day and a half, and then was transported over to Cincinnati Children's Hospital. And from there, at 2 days old, he had surgery, and then again at 5 days old, had surgery. And this was to prepare him for dialysis. At that point, he was a little bit too small to fully start, but there were things that were quite obvious. He held onto a lot of fluid, became very swollen, things that just, his kidneys were not filtering out the toxins that a healthy person's would. So we started dialysis about a month old.
So how long was Owen in the hospital?
He was in the NICU for 100 days.
Oh my
He
goodness.
came home the day he turned 100 days old.
Wow.
So right before Thanksgiving is whenever we finally brought him home.
All right, Owen Michael, trying food for the first time.
So when you brought him home, what was his home care like for you and your husband?
Yeah, so in the hospital, my husband and I both went through training for dialysis. There was a lot of medications. He had a feeding tube. We gave him shots 3 times a week for red blood cell development. It was like a miniature hospital in a sense. He had therapy 4 times a week, very intensive therapy. When you're born that sick and in the hospital for so long, and then in addition with the kidney disease, a lot of his development was slowed just because he was sick. He didn't have time to learn to pull toys to his mouth or to eat by mouth. He was really focusing on surviving.
Right.
So we had a lot of in-home therapies, and then his dialysis regimen was for 12 hours every night. He was hooked to a machine that filtered water in and then pulled it out. And when it pulled it out, it would pull out those toxins that would be in his blood.
And I remember going up, and I was going to stay with her. And he was on peritoneal dialysis, and you can hear that dialysis machine. And I slept with her that night because Michael slept in the other room because he was getting ready to go to school. And I remember all night hearing the machine go off, and the bells and the whistles going off. You know, my daughter getting up, going over, taking care of Owen, trying to comfort him. And the next morning I went downstairs and I got on my phone and I called my husband and I said, "She can't do this. She cannot do this." And I'll never forget, she came downstairs, she goes, who are you talking to? She was okay. I wasn't.
How did you begin the process of finding a kidney donor for Owen?
So Michael and I had assumed it would be one of us, just, you know, from when he was born, and they said he will eventually need a transplant. It never crossed our minds that we would not be a match for him. And as it turns out, we were not. And that was a really low point in our journey. We kind of just came to a stop and said, how do you ask someone to donate? What do we do now? That's a big decision for somebody to willingly sacrifice of themselves for your son. And because Owen is so loved and our family is so loved and accepted by our community, we didn't have to. We never asked one person to sign up to be tested. We had people calling us, texting us, emailing us, "Let me be tested, let me try, I want to do this for Owen." And we tested several friends and family, our pastor tested, and as it turns out, my husband's sister, Carrie, ended up being the best match.
When Carrie was a match for Owen, tell us what that was like.
You know, we all thought we were going to be matches. I mean, I thought, but I think I was too old. Michael, her husband, he was tested too to be a match. But Carrie knew she was the one. And that's what she said. I just knew I'd be the one to give Owen the kidney. And when we went up to the hospital, to Children's, for the day of the surgery, we all had shirts on. My daughter writes a blog called the Knowing Owen blog. And we all had that shirt on, but it was the kidneys on the back of the shirt, and the shirts were all green because green is for kidneys. And it was Exodus 6:1. Now then stand still and you will see what I'm about to do.
So the surgery on transplant day took place on a Tuesday, and Carrie was taken back first. And about 2 hours into her surgery, when they had reached her kidney, they took Owen back. And at that time, we were sent to the waiting room where we had tons of people there. Owen's surgery took about 8 hours. Carrie's was, I think, about 4. And so we get periodic calls from the doctors letting us know at which points they were in the surgery and how things were going. They called immediately when the kidney had been hooked up and to let us know that we had liquid gold, which meant that the kidney was making urine. So we had lots of little celebrations throughout that day until we were able to go back and see Owen in the ICU.
How did they both do through the surgeries?
They both did great. So like I said, surgery was on a Tuesday. Carrie went home that Friday. And even though she went home, she was in quite a bit of pain. What we had been told was the recipient 100% of the time will feel better than the donor. And we saw that very quickly. The same day that Carrie was going home, Owen was actually moving out of the ICU into the room next to her. And he just had a glimmer in his eyes, a twinkle that we had not seen. Owen was really sick as a baby, and we didn't see that because that was the only Owen we knew. He was happy, he laughed, we loved on him, we tickled him, but not until he had his transplant did we see there's a lot of life in him.
Today, Owen is a healthy 5-year-old boy full of happiness, joy, and love for his family.
We're coming home. We're coming home.
We're playing round and round. What's the baby say? The baby on the bus says. What's the baby say? Wah wah. Wah wah wah.
We're standing in the Owensboro Convention Center getting ready to attend Jason Koger's fundraising event, Handing Back. Jason has graciously allowed us to be a part of his big event to surprise our hero. It's almost time for the event to get started. Let's go in and honor our hero.
First, I want to start out, I want to talk about being a hero. You know, you don't have to be a hero. You don't have to be in the Army. Like, there's so many people that can do different things. I want to introduce somebody. We got a special thing to do tonight, and THERESA ROWE is going to do something for me. This thing's echoing.
Hey, thanks, Jason.
So this is THERESA ROWE. I'm sure y'all have heard of her on WBKR, or she works out with Jenny.
I do.
And Jenny's a good workout, right?
She's a warrior.
So,
She's awesome.
so we want to talk
Jenny?
about our little hero, and tonight we want to do something special. This person is a great person. I love her to death, so I'm going to let THERESA take over.
Thank you, Jason. You know, in a world full of drama and trauma, there's always great people out there doing great things, amazing things, things that go beyond to help other people. And tonight we want to recognize a person who's gone beyond. I'm sure you can think of someone that's an unsung hero, someone that has done something so amazing for another person that they fly under the radar and they don't want any special recognition or glory. They just want to give. Well, tonight, we are so excited to recognize a very, very special person. Someone who has given of themselves, someone who has given sacrificially, and someone who is so selfless. Tonight, we want to recognize our hero, Carrie Gherkin. Carrie, will you join me on stage? Carrie, you can come over here or over there, either way. You want to come over here? Carrie was not expecting this, evidently. Come on up, Carrie. Hi, Carrie. I'm THERESA. This is Tyler and Owen Darty, and I'm going to let Tyler tell you why we're celebrating Carrie tonight.
I'm Tyler, and this is Owen. Say hi. Say hi. And Carrie is Owen's hero. Owen was born without functioning kidneys. And we knew when Owen was born, he would need a transplant to save his life. And 4 years ago, Carrie was that person. And I would not be up here today with a little boy who is running and laughing and playing, or that I sent to kindergarten this year without Carrie's sacrifice.
We're presenting Carrie with a plaque, and I was told that she wanted a family portrait, and so we gave her a family portrait. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
I have to ask you, how did you feel knowing that you were the one that got to step up and basically you saved Owen's life?
I just didn't think about it. I just felt like I was meant to be the one to do it. When I found out that he had a need, I think God just put it on my heart that it was going to be me, and everything else was just kind of formalities, you know, that I had to go through.
Well, tell us about when you first got to see Owen after his surgery, when you were able to go in his room, because I'm sure you were recovering too. You just had surgery.
The very first time I got to go see him was just, I just cried. I mean, he was still kind of not sedated, but just still laying in the bed. But he already looked better. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, he was so sick, and then just in that amount of time, you could already tell it was working, I guess.
There's new life in his eyes. You could see that. There's a very special bond there has to be between you and Owen.
Yeah.
So, you know, with you helping special needs children, and Owen is now, he's diagnosed with autism.
Yes.
So tell us about that special bond, because I was talking to Tyler, his mom, and she said, I can't even explain it.
I can't explain it either. You know, I think he's here, you know, since they live in Florida, we don't see him very often. But he always makes sure he comes and says hi to me, whether he, you know, puts his hand on my leg or you know, kind of lays his head on me, or, you know, he just wants me to know that he knows I'm there, I guess you could say.
Now you celebrate kidneyversary every single year.
Yes,
that's really cute.
Yes.
So what do you do with the kidneyversary?
Well, the first year we had a cake, and you know, they came in, and it was kind of like another birthday party for Owen. It's kind of a new beginning for him. So,
right.
Yeah.
Carrie, what would you say to someone else that's out there watching to inspire them to give unselfishly like you did?
I would say do it. I mean, if you have any reservations, I can tell no difference today than what I did before the surgery. You know, it was a small recovery time, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it to see that little boy growing and thriving, and you know, he's gonna make it. And that's just a small, I mean, you know, it was like just a small little time of my life, and I can tell no difference.
I want to thank you for sharing your story. It is amazing. It will inspire so many people to help other people. But I think everyone that listens to your story will be inspired to go out there and help someone else. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for letting us be a part of it.
Thank you.
Okay, say uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis, siete, eight. Eight is, say siete. Seven. Say, what comes after siete? Ocho. Nueve. Nueve is nine. What's after? 10 is, say nueve. Diez. Good job.
Thank you for watching Surprising Heroes, and thank you for joining us and listening to Carrie and Owen's inspirational story. We hope we've touched your hearts
And we hope we've inspired you to go out there and do something great by helping others.
Reach out a helping hand when it's not your fight, but you take a stand for nothing in return. Help a stranger in need. When someone is lost in the dark of night, let it shine, be a beacon of light. Be what you're called to be. That's what a hero is to me. That's what a hero